Welcome to Seminary for the rest of us, where we're going to discuss things that matter most to you as a pastor or as a layperson, and maybe you want to have some ideas and some processes of things. Today I want to share with you kind of how I have gone about bringing on staff, especially pastoral type staff. In this case, I've had the opportunity to lead this process at our church a couple of times in searching for a youth director. I'm the senior pastor at a very small church in rural Texas. We don't have a whole lot of resources to bring on a full-time staff person, so this process can get really sticky and it can be very difficult to find quality people to bring onto staff in these kind of positions. So we've been searching for a youth director. We had been searching for a youth director for several months. I kind of wanted to share with you what I think is a very helpful process, one that you may be able to find very useful as well. Starts out with a job description. If you don't have a good, healthy job description, your search is kind of already dead in the water. Please do not search for pastoral staff, search for a youth director or a youth pastor without a solid job description. I've been a youth pastor. I was a youth pastor for 8 years in 2 different churches, and man, it was when you get that job description, when you're in the search mode and you get a job description and it's vague and it's unclear and it just is ultimately unhelpful and is really confusing. So I'll give this to you in the description, but I have a job description kind of format that I've taken. I always list the compensation and what the benefits are for the job, and I want to be really specific with what the job includes in a way that's commensurate with the pay. You don't want to have this list of pie-in-the-sky ideas. For this part-time staff person is going to be making $12,000 a year. He's going to be going to conferences. He's going to be writing books. He's going to be here 50 hours a week. It's just not realistic. So you want the job description to be something that you can actually use as a metric for their job performance. For example, at our church, our job description is that the youth director will plan and coordinate Wednesday evening services and Sunday morning services. If we have extra Sunday school classes that are needed, then he would just be organizing those things, making sure it all happens, and giving that information to his Sunday school teachers. But right now, we just have the one class, and he would be the primary teacher of that class. Because we're not offering a whole lot in pay, and again, you can't say, for $12,000 a year, you need to do a youth activity once a week. It's just kind of ridiculous. It's kind of silly. So we require one special activity per quarter. And that can be anything. I mean, and try to help them with that as they figure those things out. Try to have some that have some ministry content specifically, some that are recreational content. Those things are really helpful. One of the things that we have in our job description is to plan and implement a youth camp or a youth mission trip. I prefer mission trips personally, but if he wants to take them to camp, then great, and I can work with him on that and be flexible. And that actually counts as one of the activities per quarter. So there's one heavy ministry content activity that's already taken care of. So he only really has 3 left. I mean, that makes it super easy for him to kind of know what's expected of him. He's also required at our church. He's required to take care of the ministry budget for the youth ministry. Because we are paying a good, it's a decent part-time salary. I've seen worse. I actually started at a church where I was getting paid $100 a week. So I was started at $5,200 a year at the church that I started at. But for $12,000 a year, he's going to be here every Sunday or most every Sunday, unless he's taking vacation time for that. And so we have in there that he'll fill the pulpit as requested by the senior pastor, attending staff meetings as planned by the senior pastor, which again, he's our only other staff person, so it would just be me and him meeting to talk about staff issues, plans and such. And then I have as a, if possible, to coordinate with other churches in the area, because that can be really helpful to build community. But I'll leave that in the description. A link to that in the description for you as well, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about there. But these are measurable things, so if he's not doing them, it'll be clear. So yeah, we want to have measurable rubrics there. Once you have a job description in place, obviously the church needs to implement it. If you're a church like ours, you'll need to implement some kind of search committee. Our church does require a search committee for these kind of processes. So once the search committee is in place, here's what I have done, and this is actually from the first church I worked at. I like to let the search committee know up front, hey, I will take care of the resume gathering. I will take care of initial contact, especially a small church. These people are all volunteers. These people are already stretched as it is. The only people in a small church like mine that are actually volunteering to do something like this are people who are already working in pretty much every other ministry. So try to alleviate some of that pressure, especially since I'm a full-time pastor. I can take on that extra burden in this kind of a process. So I take responsibility to find the resumes, to do the search, and those resumes come to me. Then what I like to do is be the primary contact. So I like to personally, we're about an hour away from a seminary. I like to try to get somebody from the seminary, and that being an hour away, I understand that distance, which is again why the job description is so important. But then when I get a resume and the person's interested and I want to meet this guy, I just set up a lunch with them. Hey, let me take you to lunch. Let me take you to dinner. Let me take you to breakfast, whatever the case is. And that way I get to have a personal one-on-one time with this person, and so I can get a feel for them. So the congregation is not going to be having nearly the same kind of experience with a staff person that other staff will, especially as a senior pastor, as I'm leading and casting vision. I want to have somebody that's going to be able to be on board with that vision, and I want to know that up front instead of having the search committee put someone on my lap and say, hey, this is the guy we're going to give you. So again, like to take the lead on that. For me, that helps me, gives me that opportunity. So taking them to lunch, I always have a planned list of questions. I'll actually give you this in the description as well. Give a link to this in the description. I've got a whole series of questions. I give the tough questions. So if you've been in a search committee before, most of the time search committees don't really know what they're looking for. They think in terms of a job, looking for someone who is going to bring, who is capable to do what they need to do. Whereas when you're talking about ministry staff, capability is not the most important thing. You also have character that's of vital importance, and you also have how you get along. Do you guys get along? Are you going to be on the same page? Those kind of things are also very, very important. And in fact, more important than their ability to do the job. If you have somebody who has all the qualifications in the world, can do everything phenomenally, but he has no character, it's just not going to work, and it's going to fail. And in fact, if you hire this person, it will destroy the church from the inside out. It's very, very dangerous. So this gives me an opportunity to find out and kind of discern their character, and also kind of find out if there's a compatibility there. Can we work together for the kingdom? So I ask lots of questions about that. What's your testimony? Basically, that's pretty basic. But and as they share their testimony, kind of a one-on-one setting, asking them what is the gospel. I want to make sure that they know what the gospel is. Other questions, like what are primary doctrines for them? What do they see as something that you have to agree on in order to be a Christian? What do they see as secondary doctrines? What do they see as things that we have to agree on these things to be a church? To be a local church, we have to agree on these things. And what are some doctrines that maybe aren't as serious? And again, I'll give this whole description, whole list to you in the description. Another thing I like to look at, especially one of my favorite questions I like to ask is, it really puts people on the spot, but I love it. It's to ask them, What is the Trinity, and how would you describe it to someone? Being in youth ministry for 8 years, I've actually had the opportunity twice to teach on the doctrine of the Trinity. The first time, it took me about 6 months, and the students loved it. They ate it up. The second time, it took me about 3 or 4 months. And again, same response. The students absolutely loved it. We'd go on youth activities. They'd ask me questions about it. It was wonderful. So the doctrine of the Trinity is actually really near and dear to the heart of students, I think. They really want to know these kinds of things. So knowing that you have a student minister who can do that, who can talk about things like this with students and bring it to a way that they understand it, that they see the importance of it, not dumbing it down, but presenting it well. I think those are super important to have and to understand. Now, we are a Southern Baptist church, so I want to know, do they affirm the Baptist Faith and Message 2000? I want to know, what do you think about church membership? I take church membership very seriously. I'm also kind of a 9 marks guy, so I take church membership very seriously. I want to know, are they going to join the church? What do they think about church membership? What are how do they view these things? So again, those things I think are super important for me to know. Other lists of questions you may find, I'll put a link to the description in this description for this as well. But Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary, one of my alma maters, actually has a 39-page document about searching for pastoral staff, and it's generally to a search committee. But again, you're bringing on a staff person. These are questions that could be really important to ask them. This is something you can also give the search committee to help orient the type of questions they need to be asking as well. So I'll leave those for you as well. Another thing you want to do then, after you've met a candidate, you're solid, you think that you really want to recommend them, you love to see you guys have a working relationship together, you definitely want to bring him to your church, and you're at that point where you're ready to do that. Obviously, for our church, we do have a search committee process, so I then recommend them to the search committee, arrange when we're going to have the meeting, communicate that to the candidate, and then we have that meeting. If you do it during dinner time, provide a meal. If they're coming from far away, provide them gas money. Just love them. Don't try to abuse them in that sense. You don't bring them out and say, hey, spend 2 hours of your gas money driving, and we're not going to help you out with that at all. Just, you're coming for an interview. No, really help them out, take care of them. That'll speak volumes to them about your church as well, and about you as a pastor and your care for them that you're going to have. Once you sat with the search committee and had the interview with them, if all's still going well, next step would be to do background checks, obviously, and check references, make sure there's not any character issues that you missed. I found out the first church I was hired at, the pastor let me know that there was actually a candidate that was he had pursued before me, and when he did references, he found out this guy was a Sunday school teacher at their church, but he would disappear. He just wouldn't show up to teach his class. These are character issues that can be really problematic when you're bringing on staff. It's a big red flag. So you're looking for those other red flags, character issue kind of things. Then obviously next process would be recommending them, along with the search committee, recommending them to the congregation. If there's other budget issues that need to be decided, if you're like our church, we need to get that okayed by the finance committee. If he's requesting more than what we're giving, can we do that? Can our budget handle that? Need to get the approval from the finance committee on those kind of package issues. Then you bring it to the church for vote. At our church, we are congregational in our government, so we want to make sure we vote on this person and make sure the congregation is calling them as well. Then obviously after that, it's finishing up paperwork, getting in the W-4s and whatever other forms you need to take care of for tax purposes, those kind of things. I really hope this helps. Searching for staff can be complicated and can be nerve-wracking. Pray. Well, one thing I didn't mention, pray. You cannot do this without prayer. If you don't have the Lord helping you bring the right person, guiding you and guiding the church and guiding the search committee, you're just going to end up with disaster. I've heard stories after stories of pastors who have brought in staff. They didn't do their due diligence. They didn't pray. They didn't take the time to do these things, and it just can be very disastrous. I hope this helps you guys. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments. I'd love to answer more questions about the search process. Some of these aspects I'm more passionate about than others, I promise you that. But I'd love to answer any more questions that you might have. Yeah, let me know if you like this video, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. The more we get responses, the more we'll be able to produce more content. So let us know, and we'd love to continue to help serve you. Thank you.